the best known church show, where we show you how to 10x your reach with church marketing that will help you increase your impact, make more disciples, and become the cornerstone of your community again. This is for the leaders with an outrageous vision, because anything less would be an inaccurate reflection of our Creator. The ones who have unreasonable faith, because you know God works unreasonable miracles. And the ones who are relentless in the pursuit of your calling, because anything less would not make a good and faithful servant. If that's you, you're in the right place. Now, please welcome your host and guide on this journey to become the best known organization in your community, Justin Nava.
Welcome to the best known church show, as the narrator so perfectly described. My name is Justin Nava. If we have not met before, I take full responsibility for that. I am founder of NAVA Church Marketing, and I want to see 1 million churches become the cornerstone of their communities. And I believe also to do that, they need to be known in their communities, because it is no longer the default to be going to church. It is no longer the default to turn to God when you're having issues. It is no longer the default to live in community with others. And I think to help churches get back to that point and move forward beyond even where we've been before. I don't want to just return to where things were. I want to move beyond where things were, to be constantly increasing the kingdom, building the kingdom with God. I believe a big part of that in American culture in 2024 and beyond is to be known. Stop being the best kept secret and start being known, if not be the best known, which is what the title of the show is, The Best Known Church. Inside of this show, I'm going to teach you different strategies, tips, tools, different resources. You can follow the YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, like and follow. If you're watching on X, hey, I appreciate you watching on X. Why don't you come over to YouTube so you can actually click something and get involved in the chat? If you have a question at any time, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll read it on the stream if it's appropriate, of course. And today, though, I was going to talk about using our website as a ministry. And then I was like, I feel like that's too technical. I don't want to. We'll do that eventually, because I've already got all the assets marked up for it, the notes and the thumbnail. But then I switched it to, well, you know what? We've got the mental health, the Church Mental Health Summit coming up in exactly 1 month, October 10th. And I'll have a link in the description below. I'll put it in the chat, because I forgot to copy it. So let me go grab it real quick. So I was going to do like 10 encouragements for church leaders when life is hard. And as I was writing it, it really came back to, it really kept coming back to what I believe and what we constantly say here at NAVA Church Marketing: be outrageous, unreasonable, relentless. And it just, I was like, well, you know what? We've never really sat down and talked about our creed before. So I actually thought, let's do that. So literally this morning, I made the thumbnail, I remade the notes, and I want to share the creed that we have for NAVA Church Marketing. If you wonder what these banners are, they're way too big for this office space, but I think they're so cool. Shout out Church Shop for printing them. Relentless pursuit, outrageous thinking, unreasonable faith. I read them backwards, but this is like the embodiment of our organization. It's our beliefs, it's our values. And so I thought I'd share a little bit more about that. The thing that keeps us driven, the thing that keeps kind of points our compass, so to speak. So I've got my personal core values, but for the business, we really rely on these. And not only that, we actually have 2 turns of phrase, so to speak: outrageous, unreasonable, relentless, for the business side and for the faith-driven side. So we're going to talk about that. This will be a shorter episode of the Best Known Church Show, but my goal for you, listener, viewer, for the end of by the end of today, you'll be able to take this and kind of either, whether you copy paste it, put it on a note card like I do, put it on banners like I do, or just manipulate it and make it your own for your ministry or your own support. I want to hopefully see this be used as a resource. If not, it'll give you some insight into what makes the agency tick. Before I do that, let me go ahead and share in the comments below. You can't, the banner is going to do nothing for you here. But go to, let's see, where'd it go? Here it is, churchmentalhealthsummit.com. If you want to use my referral link, put all that gobbledygook at the end. That just lets Laura know that I sent you. But churchmentalhealthsummit.com, that is coming up on October 10th, giving you resources to not only I say push yourself. I don't think Laura would say that, but get yourself through some hard times, lift yourself up, rediscover your faith, avoid burnout, whatever the turn of phrase that she likes to use. That's how I see it. I love the Church Mental Health Summit. It's the biggest one, I think, for churches all year. I got to speak at it a couple years ago, and I just love it so much. So I'm talking about it all week on my newsletter, if you're on my email newsletter. But I wanted to give a shout out here on the Best Known Church Show. So go to churchmentalhealthsummit.com or click the link down below. You will see that link. So you can also go to NAVAChurchWebsite.com. Another quick little freebie here. You can get our homepage framework, so you can have a homepage that gets people to actually click through your site. You don't want people just to load up your site, see some information, and leave. You want them to click. You want them to see themselves, what God can do for them, feel, not necessarily see themselves, but see where they can go, what God can do for them, and see people that look like them. So it all starts on your homepage. We've got the homepage framework for free for you to download. NAVA Church website. We will eventually have all the pages framed up. I think we're just a couple weeks away from launching that. So thank you guys for watching. Like this video. If you like this video, subscribe. If you want more tips and tactics and stuff like that we talk about on the YouTube. Now I want to go into our creed, the NAVA Church Marketing Creed. This is built on, again, the 3 values: be outrageous, be unreasonable, and be relentless. And so I'm going to read it, and then we're just going to kind of break it down. You know, this can always be, this, if you ever watched my 10 core values video, one of my core values is always be changing. So, you know, some of this stuff I was even looking at, can I change it right now? Because I feel like there's still some tweaking that needs to be done. Maybe we'll even tweak it live on the stream. But this is, again, it's a chill stream, right? I want to share this. You know, this isn't me standing on the stage giving a talk to people who want to be better. This is me coming alongside saying, hey, I'm in ministry just like you. This business is in ministry. You know, we're going through this together. So I'm going to read this first, and then we'll kind of go through line by line, and I'll try to remember to put the lines in the banner down below so you can kind of get a visual on it. But here's the creed. This is the Church Marketer Creed that we believe in. We are given an outrageous vision from God, who has chosen us to co-author his redemption story. We match this vision with outrageous thinking, finding new ways to spread the message of salvation. We have unreasonable faith in a God so big, not even death could hold him. We match this faith with unreasonable action, doing whatever it takes to guide our neighbors to Jesus. We relentlessly pursue our ministry calling, striving to be a good and faithful servant. We match this pursuit with relentless execution, staying on mission until God calls us home. I feel like if Pastor was reading this, he said, let's pray. Let's bow our heads in prayer. That's the creed. And it's built on outrageous vision and outrageous thinking, outrageous faith and unreasonable faith and unreasonable action, and relentless pursuit and relentless execution. I always thought about relentless implementation, but even that was a little too long. So let's look at the first part here, and it comes out of being outrageous. And again, because we have an outrageous belief, it generates outrageous action. Okay, so it's almost mirrored. It's 2 sides of it. It's the side of ministry, and it's the side of ministry, which then bleeds into, for us, the side of business. That's why when we have these, I should be wearing it. When we have these bracelets here, if you want one, I'm going to send some to the cohort that just started. It is double-sided. So, you know, I desire pastors to be wearing this one, the Relentless Pursuit, and maybe the church leaders are wearing the flip side, Relentless Execution, because they are oftentimes executing for the pastor. So, and if you want to do both, I literally just cycle them through and then flip and then cycle them through again. So let's go through them together. So first we are given an outrageous vision from God, who has chosen us to co-author his redemption story. We match this vision with outrageous thinking, finding new ways to spread the message of salvation. So it starts with outrageous vision. And that's what that is, right? So I believe God gives outrageous visions. I don't think he gives reasonable visions. If he wanted you to be reasonable, pastor, church leader, you'd just be working a normal 9 to 5. You would not be working in a church, serving the community, equipping his disciples to make more disciples. This is all outrageous. I mean, how many times in the Bible has God called someone to do something ridiculous. Or I should just stay on topic here. Outrageous, right? He said, I'm gonna bring salvation through you. I'm going to build my kingdom through you. I am going to use you, stuttering Moses, to bring my people out. I am going to use you, David, to put together a beautiful Jerusalem, to build a strong Jerusalem. And Solomon, you're going to hold it together. Well, you should. So and then of course the angel appearing to Mary. Hey, you're gonna carry my son, and God deals in the outrageous. And so I believe when we are in ministry, God gives us outrageous visions. And if you don't have an outrageous vision, I don't blame God for that. I say that's us trying to tamper down what God is calling us to do because we choose to stay in a comfort zone. But to finish the thought, we are given an outrageous vision from God, who has chosen us to co-author his redemption story. Now, I include the word chosen there. I'm a Baptist. I'm not a Calvinist, but I say I see enough points to make a chair. The good old Baptists, like, hey, we can agree on the outside and we can kind of agree on the next insides. The L I'm not sure on, because I don't take no L's in life. But John 3:36 or 6:63, I always get the two confused. I can't ignore that. God is calling people to him, and he invites us to be co-authors in his redemption story. We say God is writing the story of history. You can even be cheesy, grandma, mama, whatever, and say it's his story. But it's God's redemption story of bringing us back to him. And he's asking us to co-author it with him, not just in ministry, but in discipleship and in spreading the gospel, preaching the gospel. And so that's kind of the outrageous vision. It's not just what vision he gives us in church, but it's the fact that we are invited alongside to co-author with him. So that's more of the whole complete thought. We are given an outrageous vision from God, the God who has chosen us to co-author his redemption story, because he's given this vision to go alongside. The vision is your ministry. We're going to plant a church. We are going to impact our community. We are going to make disciples. Maybe it's even in media. We are going to create media environments that create the proper foundation to worship God, whatever that is, because he's given us this vision. We match that with outrageous thinking. Pretty simple. We match this vision with outrageous thinking. Now, here's where the marketing part takes part in it. Finding new ways to spread the message of salvation. Okay, we're not finding new salvations. We're not finding new gospels. We're finding new ways to share the message. The same way that Billy Graham shared it on the radio. He said, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I imagine he said something like, why are we holding this gospel message behind the four walls? Why are we restricting it just to face-to-face? We have this new tool to broadcast the gospel across the airwaves and then eventually across TV. So he's not changing the message. He's just finding new ways to spread it. And now we have new ways to spread it on social media, online, on Google. And so we match that outrageous vision. Hey, I am calling people to me, and I want you to play a part in bringing them to me and sharing my truth, my message to them. Signed, God. Okay. So we match that outrageous vision with outrageous thinking, finding new ways to spread that message. Let's go 2 lines at a time. I think that makes more sense. Let's see if this will show up on screen. I love this. This is where we get into old like hymnal writing. We have unreasonable. So that's out. So anyways, that's outrageous. That's just being outrageous. Outrageous vision leads to outrageous thinking. What can we do to get more people, to get the message in front of more people? Now we go into unreasonable. Because we have this outrageous vision, we're going to be unreasonable carrying it out. Okay. Because here's the foundation of it. We have an unreasonable faith in a God so big, not even death could hold him. Okay. Our God is so unreasonable. He's like, hey, all the things I set forth in physics with death and decay, I'm overwriting that. I overrode it with Lazarus and I overrode it with Jesus. You could even say, I guess, who's the guy that didn't die? He just went up to heaven. Was it Enoch, or am I confusing names? He is supernatural. He is outside of the natural realm. And because we have a faith in a God that's like that, it sounds unreasonable in today's day and age. Okay. And by the way, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a theologian. I would like to say I'm barely a Christian, but I think that's a heresy to Jesus. I mean, he has saved me, this wretched soul. So I'm not an expert on all of this stuff. There are some things that I type and I'm like, or say, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want to sign off on that just yet because I'm still investigating it for myself. But we have an unreasonable faith. We can go out, you and I, brother and sister in Christ, go out into the local grocery store and we can look someone dead in the eyes and say, Jesus was risen from the dead. He died. He was buried in a tomb, and for 3 days, his body sat there. And he conquered death and said, this can't hold me, and it's not going to hold the people that follow me either. And he got up. He blew the stone door away. He didn't roll it away. This ain't no children's musical on an Easter Sunday, okay? My understanding, if you study the original text, Jesus or the angel, whoever did, blew the stone away. That's pretty unreasonable to say. In fact, even people are like, I could believe Jesus rolled it away, but blew it away. I don't know. It was 10 feet away. Bro, it's unreasonable. Not only that, you read up Revelations. How unreasonable is Revelations? Okay, whether you're rapture or no rapture, God's going to rebuild his perfect kingdom on earth forever. Right? That's pretty unreasonable. That's even unreasonable to Christians. But we have an unreasonable faith because God is so big. We have to meet his unreasonableness, his supernaturalness, with more unreasonableness. So because we have an unreasonable faith, because we were chosen to co-author his story, the Spirit has to play a role in our calling to God. We are so depraved, not to sound like Calvinist, we are so depraved that only the Spirit can wake us up to the fact that we even need a Savior. So we have this unreasonable faith. We will match this faith with unreasonable action, doing whatever it takes to guide our neighbors to Jesus. This is the one that I'm like, I still want to tool a little bit more. In my church, we say, follow me until you see Jesus, because people don't inherently just say like, oh yeah, I'm going to start following Jesus right now. It's going to be, hey, I'm going to go and follow Justin around and learn what's he doing well, and then hopefully through my actions we'll see like, oh yeah, he obeys and worships something even greater. Okay, so because we have an unreasonable faith, because God is so unreasonable and outrageous, we match that with unreasonable action. We will do whatever it takes. We will say, hey, other churches are doing this and it's not working, so what we're going to do is this, because we're going to do something completely unreasonable. When I tell people what we charge as an agency and what we provide for it, I get laughed out of masterminds and meetings, because they're like, you don't take this seriously because you're not charging enough. We're about 25% of what the average agency charges, even on just a simple website, because that's unreasonable for me. Or excuse me, that is unreasonable. I get laughed at. I look at it as a badge of honor that we're still able to serve churches and we keep things lean here. Hence me streaming out of my office. And I have a co-working space, but I don't have an office at the co-working space, not yet. But that's how unreasonable I am, because our churches do things very unreasonably. They operate organizations on a shoestring budget. They have church communicators, directors, whatever you call yourself. You're in charge. Your church, if you're a smaller church, maybe you're a medium church and you got $1 million budget. That sounds like a lot, but it's not once you dig down into it. If you're at a medium church of 200 and you've got a $1 million budget, your job is to keep 200 people at that church on the same page and communicating well with each other. Whereas I could run $1 million business with 4 people, and I only have to keep those 4 people on the same page. It's much easier. It is completely unreasonable to run churches the way that they are, but we do it because we have an unreasonable faith, because we operate outside of reasonability. Okay. Reasonability says, get what's yours, get your bag and enjoy your life. God's unreasonability says, don't just provide for yourself, but provide for your kids and your kids' kids. And by the way, be generous on top of that. So yeah, we're going to be unreasonable because our faith is unreasonable because God's outrageous. So we're going to do whatever it takes to guide our neighbors to Jesus. Last half. We relentlessly pursue our ministry calling, striving to be a good and faithful servant. This is almost like the fourth verse. So what? I don't know. Maybe it's the church musician. If you don't know, this degree hanging behind me, if you're watching the video, that's a church music degree. And so maybe the last verse, is always about home, going to heaven, the destination. So it's I don't know. Maybe that's just subconsciously coming out in this. But we relentlessly pursue our ministry calling, striving to be a good and faithful servant. Relentlessly means never giving up. And this is where I will disagree with a lot of people, and I'm fine being disagreement. I think it's okay to be a disagreement. This is not a matter of truth. It's a matter of perspective, I think. One of the things I wanted to call a Facebook group was Relentless Church Leaders. And someone said, that sounds exhausting. I think too many church leaders are burning out because they feel like they can never stop. Whereas I say they're working for the wrong reasons, which is why burnout is an issue, because they're seeking a misattuned reward, or they don't understand the value of their ministry. I use this explanation a lot. I've used it before. Let me share it again. If there was $1 on the other side of a highway, would you cross that busy highway? Not busy like standstill rush hour. I'm talking busy like cars are just constantly coming at 70 miles per hour in Texas. If there was $1 on the other side of the highway, would you cross that highway to get that dollar? Sane people would say no. All right. If there was $1,000 on the other side of that highway, it's yours. You just have to cross this highway to get that $1,000. Most sane people would say no. Okay. If there was $1 million, now this is where you start to really examine your life. Okay. If there was $1 million and a busy highway, would you cross that highway to say no? Now, young single people, yeah, sure, why not? I could do a lot more with $1 million than I can with my life. Like I've been there, man. I totally get it. Parents, pastors, people with like legacies on the line are not going to risk that legacy, risk their kids growing up fatherless or motherless for $1 million. Okay, so some people might say yes, some people might say no. Okay, but to those people that say no, I'm not even for $1 million am I going to cross and risk my life to get a briefcase of money across a highway traffic where I'm pretty much guaranteed to get hit because these cars are coming quick and I'm not fast enough. Okay, for those people that said no, if your daughter was across the highway and someone was holding her throat, about to take her away and do unspeakable things, would you cross that highway? And this is when I talk about burnout and having the wrong reward in mind is similar. That's the best analogy I can come up with when it comes to my vision of my definition of burnout. Burnout is a description. The candle burns out because there is literally no more to burn. It is physically unable to burn. We would call that death. We have no breath. We physically cannot serve anymore. We are burned out. Our light is burned out. I can see people facing, now let's use the other more accepted term of burnout. I could see people saying I'm burning out because they see the rewards are not worth the effort. They do a little bit for God and they get a lot of pushback from people. They do a little bit for themselves and they get a lot of pushback from others. Or they do a lot for others and they get little in return. And it's hard, right? Like I would not be serving in ministry in a full-time capacity just honestly for less than $30,000. That's what I made when I first started, and that's like baseline. And there are lots of people doing a lot more work for a lot less money. And I'm not saying money is the result of the reward, but it factors in. That's why you get paid to serve in some churches. For others that are volunteering, they're giving a lot of time and they're not getting a lot of support, help. They're getting a lot of negativity back. And they view that as the result of their work and not the kingdom impact. Either because the church is sabotaging it, which is probably why that negativity is there in the first place. So they view crossing that highway of ministry, doing ministry, they view the other side as $1, as $5, as $10. And yeah, if the reward is that, it's not worth it to cross the highway. And if you're serving at a church that is dying because pastor is leading the congregation incorrectly, the elders are leading the congregation incorrectly, the church is no longer interested in carrying out the mission of making disciples, and instead they just want to be a nice tomb for the saints, and the pastor just wants to take a nice paycheck, then yeah, essentially you're crossing that highway for $1. But if you view your ministry as a calling, this is what God's equipped me to do. You're surrounded by people that are willing to fight that spiritual battle with you, that are sharpening your swords as you're sharpening theirs. And you realize that the community that your kids are going to grow up in need this church to succeed, because Jesus needs to shift this community upside down, because divorce is up, addiction is up. You don't want your kids growing up in that community. You want God to be honored and glorified in this community. Then yeah, you look across that highway and you see a family member that's about to be taken, and you will do whatever you take to do your best Liam Neeson impression and get over there and prevent that from happening. There is no amount of negativity, talked down upon, put up upon. And I've cried leaving the church before. But it didn't burn me out, because I had better things to do. That hurt in the moment, but in the long stream of things, it was just a stepping stone. It was an obstacle, but I had to get over it with Jesus' help, of course. But when you look at the reward, the outcome on the other end, and again, the church plays a role in this. It's not just dependent on you and the person you work for. Then burnout is not a possibility, because I will keep my mission going even if it's not in this church. If someone came up to me, if another business came up to me, which by the way, I have no interest in selling NAVA Church Marketing, I have no interest in working for others. Sometimes, I do have the thought, like when Stripe holds my funds for 60 days and I can't get paid or pay my people. I do have the thought of working with others. But I'll always say no. Someone texted me earlier, I was like, hey, are you ever going to sell NAVA Church Marketing? No, don't even, it's not even a conversation I'm going to have right now. But if someone came up to me and said, Justin, your vision is to help 1 million churches become the cornerstone of their communities, I think my business is the best way to make that happen. And if they make a good case and I feel God's peace in that, I will shut this business down tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but we'll have an exit strategy to merge or join with them, because that's my mission. This business is based on the outrageous vision that God gave me. And if someone else has a better way to get there, I will join them in that cause, in that fight. But until then, this is the best way that I know how to do it, how to build it up. And it's going to take a long time. We don't even have 1 million churches in the US, house churches included. Including house churches, we probably got 400,000 on the top end. On the low end, 330,000. So we relentlessly pursue our, let's get back to the creed. We relentlessly pursue our ministry calling. We're not going to give up on this. We might have to give up on the church. We might have to give up on the role. The church being little C church, not the big C church. We may have to shift positions, but we're not going to give up. You know, it's like I told my daughter, like, once you sign up for soccer, you're in it for the season. And she can't make it as a forward, so she comes back and she becomes a defender. Now she wants to be a goalie. That's cool. You're not going to give up soccer. You may shift positions. You may shift positions in church. You may shift roles. You may go more time, less time, volunteer. I was volunteer for a season. You may serve full time. You may serve as a pastor, and then you may serve as a director. One of the people that I respect the most, that I'd never told this to, was a janitor that worked at one of the churches that I worked for. He used to be a pastor. And I always thought it was so weird. I was like, how do you go from being a pastor at one church to being a janitor at another one? It's just a season of life. His time was over at that church. He stepped down, almost essentially stepped down in view of a calling. Like, hey, the next season of this church is in the hands of this next pastor who's going to lead you guys. And he still wanted to serve, and a janitor role fit his schedule the best. So there's nothing wrong with that. He never gave up. He never quit. The way he served changed. And if it was up to me, I don't know him. I don't know anything about his heart. I know he knew a lot, and I know he was a very wise man. I know, well, I'll see him in heaven. If it was up to me, I would say he was a good and faithful servant. So we relentlessly pursue our ministry calling, striving to be a good and faithful servant. Last part. We match this pursuit with relentless execution, staying on mission until God calls us home. Again, this is fancy ways for we refuse to burn out. We don't even recognize burnout. Burnout's when we breathe our last breath and there is nothing left to burn. And I don't have an answer if people do burn out, but I'll tell you this, because we have a relentless pursuit of our mission, we are never going to give up on it. And we're going to match this pursuit with relentless execution. If this language doesn't work, we're going to switch to the other language. If this verbiage doesn't work, like we used to call them visitors. Well, visitors is kind of corporate. It's kind of like you're here, but now you're not. You're a hotel visitor. So we switched it to guests. Then we're not so much concerned with visits. We're concerned with first-time visits. And then we're concerned with second-time visits. Because just hoping for visitors was not working. We had to be a little bit more intentional on what kind of visits we're generating and how we treat people based on their visits. This Facebook ad didn't work. So we're going to run it again with this adjustment. We're going to always be optimizing. We're always in our relentless pursuit of ministry, relentlessly executing. We are never going to stop, and we are going to stay on mission until God calls us home. Because again, your season may shift. You may retire from full-time ministry. You may go volunteer somewhere else. Drive an ice cream truck. That's still your mission. If I ever retire from this, say I'm 70 and NAVA Church Marketing is either merged, sold, or for whatever, my son takes it over. I don't care if he does or not. Someone else takes it over. Then what am I going to be doing to make sure that that we get up to that million church marker? I might just sit here and make YouTube videos. I might go mentor some other people that want to do more outreach in America. I might do some other consulting. I don't know. And then in my very last days, it'll be making sure my family stays on mission, because my family can impact those million. But until my last breath, until I'm not able to, we'll stay on mission. And I understand that's a controversial take, Justin. You're totally disrespecting the people that have been burnt out on ministry. I get it, man. There's one guy I know that I served alongside with, full-time staff, and he's no longer even a Christian. He doesn't call himself a Christian anymore, I think. And that hurts. I'm not going to judge whether or not something was or wasn't, or whether God did or didn't, whether something was gained or lost, or even there in the first place. What I know is I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to get burned out. And you can call me ignorant. You can call me foolish. Because I don't want to be like Solomon and pledge all this nice stuff and then just constantly get distracted with foreign things and trade and building things up for the sake of the kingdom, my kingdom, and not God's kingdom. I don't want to do that. But I want to stay on mission until God calls me home. And it's going to be God that calls me home, not me or someone else. So that's the creed. We are given an outrageous vision from God, who has chosen us to co-author his redemption story. We match this vision with outrageous thinking, finding new ways to spread the message of salvation. We have unreasonable faith in a God so big, not even death could hold him. And we match this faith with unreasonable action, doing whatever it takes to guide our neighbors to Jesus. And we relentlessly pursue our ministry calling, striving to be a good and faithful servant. And we match this pursuit with relentless execution, staying on mission until God calls us home. So if that gels with you, if that jives with you, like and follow, because I'll share with you everything that I learn. I know I get in the trap of constantly teaching instead of just sharing. I want to get more into sharing and documenting and like, hey, this is what's working for us. And, I just default to that teacher position, and that's a weakness of mine. I'm going to try to get better at. But if this gels with you and you're like, dude, like, I like this, by all means, copy, paste it, modify it for yourself, for your ministry. This is freely given as it was freely given to me. But I hope this is an encouragement to you today. Like and follow for more. Just close it with that. This week I've got a full set of YouTube videos planned to really go into some nitty gritty, looking at some plan of visits, pages for some churches, what's working well for plan of visit forms. And I think I talk about photos too, is going out this week. So God bless you all. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more, and I will see you all next week.
That's going to do it for today's episode of the Best Known Church Show with Justin Nava. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on the latest news, strategies, and resources that you need to reach 10x more people and become the best known in your community. To send us a message or leave a voicemail for Justin to be played on a future show, visit thebestknownchurchshow.com. And if you'd like to work with us so you can focus on your ministry, give us a call at 832-861-7654. Until next time, stay outrageous, unreasonable, and relentless.